So there is a play going on in the UK right now. It's called Tambo and Bones, and it is a satire on race relations that is being done. And they are doing what is called a blackout show, which is an all-black audience that aims to explore race-related issues free from the white gaze. It's being accused of setting a dangerous precedent, according to the Daily Mail. Well, shocking, right?
They're having a blackout event to create a, quote, safe and private space for all black identifying audience to explore race-related issues. This just sounds like inviting people who aren't black to simply identify as black in order to troll and get into the show. So I hope somebody does that. It's odd because I'm pretty sure that, like, it's weird coming from the crowd that says, like, race is just a social construct, that they behave as if it's real all the time.
They say a blackout night is the purposeful creation of an environment in which an all-black identifying audience, they say identifying audience, can experience and discuss an event in the performing arts, film, and cultural spaces free from the white gaze. Well, can then... Remember, Mary, I am a person of color according to the National Coalition of Colored People because I'm Slavic. Do I get to participate in this? I don't think so. I don't think it would inform I don't think my life experience would inform that, but I'm also not from the UK.
Well, you know, Slav comes from, or the word slave comes from the word Slav, because Slavic people have been enslaved globally so much for centuries.
And by the way, guys, they get around this. If it sounds like they're committing a crime, they get around it by basically saying that you can come, you're just not encouraged to do so.
Yeah, it says no one is excluded on their website. But it's clear that if you're white, you will be asked to leave.
Yes. And how do you have the discussion if you're only having, like, isn't one of the ideas that we should have in a liberal society that we have disagreements, arguments, and moments in which we agree with people who look different than us, who've come from different worlds, different life experiences, and certainly different skin colors? How do you have that conversation? I guess the argument here would be that it's only for one night, therefore it's not all the shows, so it should be okay. Like, I'm trying to follow their logic here.
This desperation to be free from the white gaze, it actually just sounds like you care more about what white people think of your play than what black people think of it. That's what it sounds like to me. It's like I feel more self-conscious when I'm performing in front of white people than non-white people. And that means you think that white people's opinions are more important. Yeah.
Also, by the way, they have the first black PCC there. They have their own PCC. It's the Police and Crime Commissioner.
Love that.
Yes. So.
He said he strongly urges organizers to cancel the blackout event. Quote, society is richer and stronger when an understanding of each other's cultures and stories are shared and heard. However, I believe the blackout concept runs contrary to this education and enrichment ethos. And this police commissioner is black, by the way.
Yes, he is.
But I think it's because he comes from a different generation that he doesn't understand.
It was the 90s, Mary.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. It was the 90s.
Yeah. He doesn't understand what the millennials involved in this performance are.
Also, by the way,
which is division.
They think when you said white gaze, all they can hear is like white gaze.
Yeah.
In the chat. Yes, chat.
Well, that's what I think of when they say male gaze too.
Yeah. Says, former number 10 race advisor.
Come on.
Samuel Kasumu endorsed the comments 100%. Former politician Sir Trevor Phillips described the blackout as completely lawful. Yes, it is lawful. Is it right? I certainly wouldn't want this to happen with something that I created. I would want everyone to be able to experience. But I guess it's not a fair argument to make because I wouldn't be making a satire on race relations, and clearly their life experience is different than mine. But I think you set a very, very dangerous precedent by doing stuff like this.
There's only been one attempt at a satire on race relations that I've actually found insightful or entertaining, and it was the movie Get Out. Have you seen that movie? Yep. I thought that was actually done well.
It was the only of his films of the director's films that I really of.
What was his name?
Peele.
Oh, that was Jordan Peele.
It's the only one
yeah.
of his movies. I didn't really care
and then,
for the others.
you know, his following films from Jordan Peele, if you don't like it, you're labeled racist.
Yep.
If you didn't like Nope,
But the
you
satire
were
on
called
it,
racist.
which is funny because the satire on that film is right up the alley of what he's trying to explain there.
Exactly.
You know, I would have voted for Obama a third time if I could.
Exactly. I think maybe in the UK it's different. They don't have the same history with race.
Blazing Saddles would be another good example here in America of like something that satirizes that. But you know, it is different there because
they have like I'm guessing most of the black people in the UK are just immigrants from Africa.
Yeah.
Like usually that's what I would assume.
And in
America, it's different because African Americans, you literally cannot find, I would guess, a single African American person that does not have a significant white ancestry with like at least 20 to 30% white blood.
And Mighty Rax is right. Tropic Thunder is another. Good, that has a good time. Recently, Ben Stiller
Also
came out.
condemned.
Ben Stiller came out and said, "I
Yes.
refuse to apologize for Tropic Thunder."
I mean,
I also watched this hilarious
fair.
video where he tries to explain how he got to do his role as the bad guy in the movie Heavyweights, which is a literal movie about a kid's fat camp in the 90s. And he's like, in Disney basically just let me do whatever the hell I wanted. And it's this dark character in this
I watched
kid's
that
movie.
movie. I liked it.
It's amazing.
I think that Americans are more able to laugh at themselves in general,
They have to be.
which makes them better at making jokes about race.
And it's also fair to point out that now in America, racism is really considered part of the original sin of slavery, which are inextricably linked now in our culture, which is why it's so hard for a lot of people to talk about it. Because on one hand, everything they're talking about makes perfect sense, right? It's the way it was taught. On the other hand, it's not like any of us were the ones that perpetrated that.
Well,
it really is original sin.
It's bizarre that this is the focus now because I know that every person is descended from slaves.
Yep.
Every person on the globe is descended from slaves. That's a fact because it's been prevalent for all of human history and every race and every nationality of people.
So it says,
Also, the African Americans, because of their white ancestry, are also descended from slave owners.
Yeah.
Usually, more often than white people are. Because white people that are descended from European economic migrants are not descended from slave owners. It's more likely that a black person in this country is descended from a slave owner than a white person.
And also,
especially depending on the region you live in.
Wasn't there a play that we talked about in Toronto, in Ontario, that was also did something like this, did a blackout night, and then that got protested and then taken down. Then they ended up not doing it.
And that's also bizarre because, again, Canada doesn't have the same history that the U.S. has.
It's really funny too because it really goes down to language. Like it's like when you change the term colored person to person of color, it's like they've suddenly changed what it means. Calling it a blackout night doesn't mean it's not segregation. It just means that it's soft segregation, if such a term was to exist, in which you say, sure, you're allowed, but you're not wanted. Mm.
I mean, what if we had like whiteout nights that are for white people to convene and talk about their white guilt?
Sponsored by Bic, actual whiteout.
That would be racist in and of itself.
Yep. It would. Well, what was it? One of the bigger colleges just had an all-black graduation.
I mean, there are.
They do that there
are historically black.
This wasn't this. That's not what this was. This was at a regular college.
Yeah.
But they were talking about it recently. But it's all so tiresome, and it's just like I talk to people every day, and it really does make me sad that we live in a world now where I feel like when I talk about wanting to raise up the importance of the individual. How much I care about the concept of every person is an individual with their own life experience who has done and said countless things that I take into account when I judge a person. I don't judge them by the color of their skin. I want to see every single person as a unique entity that I have to make a value judgment on if I'm going to allow them in my life, if I'm going to talk about them, if they're going to be my friends. I don't want to see people as large swaths of a community. I want to see everyone for the individual that they are. And I actually see people now, and it makes me sad, whether you agree with me or not, that think of me as naive for that, for wanting that. And perhaps that's true. But I don't think that it's less than noble. I don't think that makes me stupid for wanting to see people that way. But it's like on all sides, you get bludgeoned by people telling you can't do that anymore. Whether it's people that agree with you or disagree with you. They just agree with you or disagree with you for various reasons. It's very tiring.
I wouldn't call that naive on the individual basis. Like that's honestly how I think everyone should act. Obviously, don't pass judgment on people because of their immutable characteristics. But when it comes to talking about generalizations and talking about groups, it's naive to, for instance, think that in the interests of, unity found through diversity, we should welcome people from third world Islamic countries into European nations, because how has that worked out for us? Like that's a form of naivete or pathological altruism.
Yeah.
But obviously that's how you should react when you're just interacting and interfacing with people who are different from you on an individual level. And white people aren't the only ones who are interested in that. I think this is representative of a very niche group of people who are solely interested in furthering division.
Makes me sad. Especially because it speaks to the importance of channels like this that talk about it, because this is where these ideas, they're born out of the universities and they're propagated through the arts, right? So, not everyone's going to follow some British politician to get their information, but they might go to a play, they might go to a movie. So these ideas are born out of elitist universities, sold to people who go to the elitist universities who then go work in the arts. Like we were talking the other day, I said, it's a shocking, like people think that there's that old trope that actors are dumb and that people in Hollywood are buffoons. They're not. Most of these people go to 4-year school, they get a degree. A lot of them go to prestigious universities because they come from, basically in America, it would be like our own version of royalty, right? A lot of them are from rich families that become part of like the oligarchy that is Hollywood now. And that's their own thing. And they're pushing these ideas that are so stupid they could only be born out of college, right? Who is it that said that? It's like an idea so dumb. It could only be believed by someone at a university, whatever.
Someone who's paid just to research.
Yeah, like it's just it blows my mind and it makes me sad. But this type of stuff. In the chat, pretzel bending. I was watching a video earlier about that's a term for somebody who thinks outside of the box.
What?
I was looking at this thing. This guy who makes his views like, here are some terms that I think that we need to bring back, and it's a bunch of like old school terms that are great. One of them was pretzel bending.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.